Hello everyone and welcome to the top 10 no affiliation characters on Bleach Brave Souls. There are just enough of these to make a proper top 10 list, so unfortunately there will not be any honorable mentioned, because even though the numbers are there to put honorable mentions, they're not exactly great. With that said, let's get started. I relish the opportunity to put this character on any list. I waited for such a long time for K-Lab to put Coco in the game, but when I learned that she was going to be a metal exchange character, I knew she wasn't going to be seeing the spotlight in a lot of the lists. Luckily, out of the no affiliation characters in the metal exchange list, she ranks number 1, and there's only 9 characters that are no affiliation that are not on metal exchange, so she ends up getting the number 10 spot. But honestly, the only bad thing about this character is really her stats. They're in the low 500s, but her 6-star abilities aren't bad. She's got a plus 30 bruiser, a plus 30 berserker, and a plus 30 on devastation. Not only that, she's also got a normal attack damage link and a soul reaper killer. Her normal attack speed is pretty decent, and her strong attacks have decent range and can all inflict burn. Not only that, but her special is full screen and can inflict paralysis. It's also my favorite Kido in the show, Coco. She is one of the best metal exchange characters and definitely the best one out of the no affiliation ones.
まだ分かっていないようだな。無駄だということが。
Next up we have probably the least cared about movie character, Gonryu, who has a really high attack as well as a plus 50 bruiser and a normal attack damage link. He's also got decent range and speed on his normal attack, and his strong attack 2 and 3 can inflict debilitating paralysis. Unfortunately, both of these strong attacks aren't super fast to activate. They aren't OG Yoroichi and Kendo Kenny levels of slow, but they could be faster. And while they do have decent range, they aren't full screen, which does kind of hinder him, but considering he's a normal attack damage character, it's not that big of a deal. He also has a 40% devastation on his special, but that's all his special gets. It's just a generic full screen special with no additional effects. And that's pretty much it for this character. He didn't have that much depth in the movie, and K-Lab probably figured that he shouldn't have that much depth in game. Also, can I just say, I think he should have been a Soul Reaper in the game. I mean, I think they straight up say they're just banished from the Soul Society. If anything, Senna should have been the no affiliation one. Anyway, that's just my opinion. Rant over. Okay, rant's back on. These two are absolutely Arankars. They straight up say it in the movie. No idea why they're no affiliation here though. But my lists are based on what the game says, so here they are at number 8. And despite my beef with their affiliation, they are actually pretty decent characters. They're the first to have the switch mechanic, and in my opinion they're the ones who do the best. As they go from inflicting burn on their normal attack, strong attack 1 and strong attack 2, to paralysis whenever you use strong attack 3 to switch. It's not debilitating, but what are you gonna do? The strong attack part isn't even the main focus of this character, as they don't really have that much of an SP, though they do have a really high attack as well as a plus 50 bruiser and a normal attack damage link. They also have a soul reaper killer, which comes in handy, and a generic full screen special that also doesn't inflict a status ailment for some reason. I guess since they couldn't pick between burn and paralysis, they just decided to go with neither. I do wish that eventually these characters do make it to premium summons, because I do like them, but not enough to summon on a single banner, and I'm sure a lot of the community feels the same way.
どこを見ている？お前の相手はこの私だ。
Next up we have the best example of how to make a hybrid character in the game, Shirin, one of the few good choices for floor 50 in Senkaimon. Now while he doesn't have an overwhelmingly high SP or attack, both of these stats are decent as they're both over 700. He also has a damage reduction link and can inflict debilitating burn on everything he has. He also has a plus 40 bruiser and a plus 40 berserker. Unlike a lot of other hybrids, he also has bombardment, and the combination of that and the debilitating burn that a special leaves behind gives him one of the best specials in the entire game. Shirin also has a soul reaper killer, which is still currently the best killer to have, and he has a 180% mag strong attack 1. On top of all of this, Shirin is also completely immune from being burned. We are seeing more hybrid characters similar to this that have status ailments and bombardment, but the newer ones do have higher stats, though I still believe that Shirin is one of the best hybrid characters in the whole game.
絶対に渡さない。僕らはずっと一緒だ。
Now I know I said that in my opinion, Yin and Yang were the ones who did the switch mechanic best, and I stand by that. I do prefer switching status ailments over switching melee and range. That said, I do think that Homura and Shizuku are the better characters, and a switch between melee and range is definitely more useful in game, as there are some times when you're gonna run into situations where enemies either have range resistance or melee resistance, and this character could tank on both. They have a really high attack as well as a plus 40 bruiser and a normal attack damage link. They also have a plus 40 berserker, and all of their strong attacks can inflict debilitating weakening. The normal attack and the special can also inflict debilitating weakening, and this helps this character deal more damage, and can be quite useful in Senkaimon when a boss is about to use a special. Also, unlike Yin and Yang, this character truly feels like two different characters in one, and not just a color change, and it makes me really excited to see what other Switch characters we're gonna get. Though I still like Yin and Yang better, but that's just personal preference. Next up, we have one of the best healers in the game, Ururu, who is also a good option to take in 450 of Senkaimon, as she can also clear the floor within a minute. Ururu also has a really high attack as well as a plus 40 bruiser, though she has a strong attack recharge link. It doesn't exactly help her with damage, but it does make her healing ability all the more useful since it comes back quicker. She's also the first character on this list so far that doesn't have a Soul Reaper killer. This doesn't hinder her, I just wanted to point that out. Ururu also has Debilitator, which really only applies to her strong attack 3 and her special, as they can both inflict freezing. Now this character made it this high up on the list because she's a good support character that can deal a decent amount of damage. Everyone else I've mentioned on this list so far, with the exception of Kukaku, can actually deal more damage, but healing is definitely nice to have, and that's why I've placed her at number 5.
俺たちの力の源はいわば怨念。
At number 4 we have Kokuto, who is easily my favorite movie character to have come out. Kokuto has a really high SP as well as Frenzy, and a really good normal attack. While the actual attack stat isn't terribly high, it's still pretty decent, because it's got good reach and he's got a plus 20 bruiser. Kokuto also has a Soul Reaper killer, much like everybody else on this list, except for Ururu. Now one of the reasons Kokuto is great is because his attacks have great range. While none of them are full screen, they are pretty quick to activate, and they work really well with this character. His strong attack 3 was one of the first hybrid vortexes that gathered enemies together before hitting them one final time. It also has a chance to inflict debilitating weakening, and it sets enemies up for the follow-up attacks. It's also really good for crowd control, and can come in handy because of that in a variety of situations. And that brings us to this character's special, which is full screen and can inflict debilitating paralysis, which is useful now more than ever due to Senkaimon. At number 3 we have Dark Rukia, a character that people seem to be upset about when she first came out. Something about the range or something? I really don't know. People are weird. This character is actually really good. She's got a really high SP as well as Frenzy and can inflict debilitating weakening on all of her attacks. Surprise surprise, she's also got a Soul Reaper killer. Rukia's also got decent range on all of her attacks, from her normal attacks to her strong attacks, though her strong attack 3 isn't full screen. But it is a charge move that does increase in range when fully charged, as well as doubles in damage, going from a 120 mag to a 240 mag. Rukia also has a full screen special with a plus 40 devastation, and it's guaranteed to inflict weakening, which means it deals just a bit more damage than a regular special, since weakening also lowers defense. Also, I just realized there are a lot of movie characters on this list.
The Almighty が未来を改変する力だ。さあ、絶望してくれるなよ。みんな。
Next up on the list we have Yuhabaha, or Yuach, or whatever the heck you want to call him, who currently has the second highest SP in the entire game, sitting at 786. Now unfortunately he doesn't have Frenzy, but he does have a plus 50 Berserker. He also has a damage reduction link and crazy range on all of his attacks, though none of them are full screen. He can also inflict debilitating paralysis on all of his attacks, at least until he uses a special. After that, he transforms, and the debilitating paralysis turns into a debilitating weakening. Now the transformation only lasts 30 seconds, but in those 30 seconds all of your attacks deal more more damage, as your strong attacks go from a 120 mag to a 150 mag, except for your strong attack 2 that goes from a 40 to 50 mag, but it hits multiple times so it's okay. Your normal attack's magnification also gets increased, and not only that, as soon as you transform, all of your strong attacks come back to you immediately. Likewise, as soon as you transform back, they come back immediately again. It's like instant recharge ramen. But we're not done. This character also has the craziest special in the game. Because he has the second highest SP, and because he has bombardment, this special does a crazy amount of damage, as well as inflict debilitating weakening, which just adds to the damage. On top of all this, it gives him 3 barriers and everybody else in the team 1. And speaking of barriers, and I probably should have led with this character starts off with 10 of them, although they do disappear after a while. All of this make him one of the best characters to take in PvP, and a really good character to take in PvE.
俺の中の力の全部これでてめえを倒す。行くぜ。
Finally, at number 1, we have the newest iteration of Ichigo, the Quincy Ichigo of New Year's 2019, insert called it comment here, who has the highest SP in the whole game and Frenzy, though unlike Yuha, he's mostly just a PvE character. He's got a boosted strong attack recharge link at 14%, and he can inflict debilitating weakening on all of his attacks. And he's actually very likely to inflict the weakening because his attacks hit a crazy amount of times. His normal attack is piercing, his strong attack 1 is a piercing pushback move, which is kinda rare, and his strong attack 2 is a 180 max strong attack that hits a crazy amount of times and really helps increase the combo. Oh yeah, and his strong attack 3 is full screen, but we've seen that before. This character is also completely immune to freezing, and he's got an extra flash step, which not only helps in completing missions faster, but also greatly helps in dodging enemies' attacks, especially specials. Especially specials, that sounds weird. Have I really never said especially specials before? You know what? I'm gonna leave all this in. I'm gonna break the fourth wall for a second. This is the creative process of actually recording one of these videos. Stuff like this happens all the time, but I'm just gonna leave this one in. Anyway, this character also has a no affiliation killer. Though it's not as useful as, let's say, a Soul Reaper, Hollow, or a Rankar killer, it definitely comes in handy when the situation calls for it. Not to mention that with more manga characters coming, there's a good chance we're gonna have a lot more no affiliation in our future. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit like and subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for some more top 10 lists.